Hello, Sean Maloney, Digital Business Masters with Karatbars. Hope you're well. This presentation, we're going to go through the very latest in Karatbars and the project itself with all its facets, from gold ownership all the way through to you actually owning digital assets on the blockchain that you are able to influence the value of. Okay, it's a very special project indeed, and our job today is to give you the very latest updates on exactly what this project is all about and how it can be a major part of your financial future if you follow some of the steps that we make recommendations on every single day to thousands of people all over the world. And we're very proud of what we've done and what we help others do in this new space. So I'll go through right from the very top in this presentation. We'll be here about 40 minutes. I hope you find it very useful. And I'll be making sure, obviously, that you get ample opportunities to ask questions at the end through the various pages that this will be distributed on. And with that, we'll get started. So first of all, Karatbars, we're established in over 140 countries now, actually, globally. It's a very special project indeed. The company's been in operation successfully since 2011. In fact, the customers and affiliates that work with this operation now, as we come to the end of 2019, is approaching 1 million. So the company has done very well. Its whole purpose of this operation is to place affordable gold bullion, bank-grade gold bullion, into the hands of ordinary people in affordable amounts. Okay, it's very special. And I'll explain to you as we go through these next couple of slides just how important it is for people to understand why they should own physical gold. Physical gold is a commodity that has always held its purchasing power through thousands of years, and it's very special. And this particular company specializes in making sure that people can get ownership of gold in physical form, no futures, no derivatives, etc., in physical form. Lots of offices now around the world. The main head office is in Stuttgart, Germany. There's also offices on Hong Kong, in Singapore, Dubai, Slovenia, Romania. There's credit card services now over in Spain, Mallorca in Spain, and IT offices in Bangladesh and Romania. So it's growing all the time, as you'll see as I go through these next few minutes. Now, the first thing to address with this is all about why gold. What is it about gold that you need to understand in order for you to protect yourself? Well, quite simply, gold has a history of over 5,000 years in terms of its importance as a raw material. And for the last 2,800, nearly 3,000 years, it's been a recurring currency of what we call base currency. So it's always been the commodity that humans turn back to denote a value in the circulating currency, okay, what we call money. But currency is really a promissory note on the basis of something else, in this case, the standard, which is gold. Now, what happened a number of years ago, which has been put into the annals of history, unfortunately, but it's certainly not taught in schools, etc., is that the USA needed to put itself into a situation whereby it was protecting its own situation. This happened since the Second World War right up to 1971, because the dollar became part of the way the currency standard worked at Bretton Woods, and the gold was still part of that right up until 1971, when Nixon had to take the US dollar off a gold standard, and therefore we entered something called a free-floating fiat currency. Okay, now this has happened many times in history over many thousands of years, and it's never ever ended well. Okay, there was some reference material that I'll show you later that you can read at your own leisure to understand monetary history and just to understand how vulnerable we are right now as we enter the second decade of the 21st century with regards to being 100% reliant on a free-floating fiat currency. Okay, so very important that gold is putting to your personal possession, physical gold that is, so that you can not only protect yourself from the vagaries of recessions and inflation and deflation and all the things that you're seeing going on in the world right now, not only to protect yourself from that, but also to secure your energy into something that protects your future purchasing power. You know, you work every day, you're out there earning currency, but that currency is falling in value because of the fact that it has no standard. It's a full floating fiat currency. And the only way you have to protect yourself against that is to own physical assets, gold being the best one as it stands. So this is best demonstrated in something you may all recognize, in something we call inflation. You know, inflation is a difficult thing because it happens over time. So it means that people don't really recognize it as being as aggressive as it really is. We talk about 2.5% inflation. You know, these are the targets that the governments throw out and the media throws out in terms of what inflation is running at. And as long as we feel broadly that our wages are increasing in line with inflation, then people tend to just get on with life. But what you've also got going on behind the scenes is not just the published inflation. You've got something called hidden inflation, and hidden inflation is the falling value of the currency itself. So this is a prime example of it. Back in 1998, you know, 20 odd years ago, you were able to go into a retail establishment and get a decent amount of product for $20, £20, 20 euros, whichever. And then 10 years forward from that, a few years forward from that, you found that 20 euros and dollars got you slightly less, and then forward again, slightly less again. Now that isn't the prices of goods going up in that sense. That's the falling value of the currency itself causing the situation that you can get less for the same currency value. Now clearly wages, you could argue, have increased in real terms over that same period, but the question is, how much have they increased against the real cost of living? And the only way you can judge that is by yourself and being out there and seeing if life opportunity is staying at a level that you anticipated it would when you were told to go out and get a job and save in a bank and get a mortgage and everything else. Is your life opportunity where you expected it to be? Do you feel like you have to go out and work longer hours, work overtime, send two parents out to work? Do you feel you have to jump online and find income producing opportunities because you're just not creating enough income in your life? Do you find that if that's the case? Well, if that's the case, then that is absolutely hidden inflation eating away at your life opportunity. And that is the big issue. That's why you find an awful lot of people finding they have more month than money. And what we are suggesting is that gold is one way that you can protect yourself from that. So it's not more income you need, it's to understand how to protect what you've already got. And that is the basis of what we do in Karatbars. Another great example is to talk about the purchasing power of gold, the price stability that you basically have in owning gold. I said earlier that gold basically represents a time capsule. It's you putting your energy into something that creates you income, and then you take a proportion of that income and put it into something that protects your purchasing power into the future. Now this is an extreme example, but what we've got here is a Ford car back in 1920, and in 1920 a kilogram of gold was about $645, and it bought you the car. $645 also bought you the car. Fast forward that to today, and you can go and buy a modern Ford for $40,000, which happens to today be the price of about the price of a kilo of gold, slightly more actually as I'm talking, because gold's gone up. But in terms of the purchasing power, it's still a kilogram of gold. So what it's basically saying is a kilogram of gold is a kilogram of gold. A gram of gold is a gram of gold. An ounce of gold is an ounce of gold. It will always hold itself in terms of its purchasing power against whatever you're comparing it to in fiat currency. This is the point. So to own gold is a time capsule on your future purchasing power. It's a very, very special phenomenon indeed that most people aren't taught, that most people don't understand, and that most people therefore completely ignore. And in fact, they should be shoring up their energy into inflation-proof gold, not chasing more income. So what do we do at Karatbars? Well, as I've said, the point of this project in its base form, and we'll talk about some more sophisticated areas coming up, but in its most base form, it's about putting gold into people's hands. Okay. Now, one of the ways we do that is by breaking gold down into very, very small amounts, down as small as 0.1 gram. You know, in round numbers is about $5 today. Okay, so that means that you're able to accumulate physical gold, and we happen to put it in the form of a note. You know, the gold you can see here in this image is embedded into a piece of paper, frankly, and that enables you to store it and hold it in a safe manner. We do exactly the same with cards, so they look like a credit card sized piece of plastic, and embedded in there are different weights of gold, 1 gram, 3 gram, 6 gram of gold inside those cards. And that enables you to safely hold it. It also enables the company to put certificates and proof on the documents. This is basically a gold certificate that proves that it is what it is, so that you know exactly what you're getting your hands on. You can go and get gold in all sorts of different places, from jewelry to coins, anything you want. But at the end of the day, you want at some point in your life in the future to be able to convert gold back into the predominant currency. Okay, so you need to know that it is actually what it says, and that's the basic reason why you find Karatbars going to these lengths in terms of embedding gold into paper, into certificates, into dark light censored, you know, certified pieces of plastic, so you know exactly what you're purchasing. It's very, very important that you trust the source on which you are exchanging your falling value fiat currency for inflation-proof physical gold bullion. Now, you don't need to take my word for any of this. My job today is simply just to explain to you the reasons why gold is so important and give you some information on how you can accelerate your gold ownership using the very latest technologies such as blockchain, etc. And we'll come to that in 1 second. But before you can confidently go in to a project such as Karatbars and understand exactly why it is that you should be paying yourself first in gold, in other words, carry on doing what you're doing, keep working hard, keep accruing income, in every way you do it, but make sure that you take a proportion of that and put it into inflation-proof money, which is gold. And all the books and the videos that you'll see in front of you here are designed to give you that insight, not only in the importance of gold, but also the importance of owning something called income-producing assets. It's very, very important that more people should understand that they don't need to be 100% reliant on a boss, a bank, or a government. And banks would include savings, annuities, pension plans, 401ks. It is not necessary to be 100% reliant on those things. There's no problem with them. We're not financial advisors. We're not here to tell you what to do. We just want to give you some information so that you can go ahead and make informed decisions. Now, these books you will find give you absolute route one information about how important it is to do what I've just been explaining. And one of the best ones actually is to go and watch on YouTube. If reading's not for you, and just go to YouTube here, Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. And if you've not seen that video and those series of videos, then that is guaranteed to show you just how crazy the fiat system is in terms of how it eradicates people's purchasing power and means that people have to work longer and harder to stand still. And if they are, even if they are managing to save something for their future in their older age, then the value of that currency that they're saving in is being eradicated. Okay, so that means you have to work longer. That's why you're finding people working longer into their older age. That's why you're finding governments extend retirement ages, is because they simply can't afford to keep people in their older age. So it's down to you. And once you watch Hidden Secrets of Money and you read books like Think and Grow Rich and The Creature from Jekyll Island and The Cash Flow Quadrant, you'll realize the monetary history involved as to why, sat here in 2019, we are now at the cusp of an era that means you are going to have to put this into your own hands, because the economies of the world are shifting given what we've been doing for the past 100 years. This becomes absolutely obvious if you just take the time to read and listen to these recommendations. If you don't like reading or you haven't got time to read, then I'd recommend Audible, audible.com. Download all these books on Audible and put them, the earphones in your ears and listen to what is going on. when you're on your commute to work or doing whatever you do. And you'll quickly realize just how important it is for you to own physical gold. Okay, so that's the introduction piece, a little bit about Karatbars itself, a big message about why you need to bring physical gold into your life and why it's important. But now what we're able to do with modern technology is leverage that position and take it into a place whereby not only do you own tangible physical assets in gold, you're also now able to own what are called utility assets. And the beautiful thing about this ecosystem that I'll explain is that the more this utility creates value in people's lives, in consumers' lives and business lives and mass adoption in general, then the more valuable your asset becomes as a stakeholder inside what's called a blockchain. And given that the coins that I'm going to demonstrate now are based on gold, it also means the company places more gold under itself as in its own balance sheet, which makes more gold available to the stakeholders of this project. And that's really what the innovation into a new digital era is all about, introducing the Karatbars universe ecosystem and our digital gold currencies, KBC and KCB. So this is the next step with regards to how you not only position in physical assets to protect your purchasing power, but you position in income producing assets that allow you to live life. Very, very special indeed. So don't worry too much about the complexities of this chart, okay? This is the overview of how this all connects together. We call this the Karatbars universe. And it's very special, a very, very new way of allowing companies, businesses, financial institutions, telecommunications, finance management, shopping, cryptocurrencies. It's a very special way of aligning all these things together in one ecosystem. Okay, and it's fundamentally pinned on two coins. One is a utility coin called KCB, and the other is an asset-based coin called KBC. And I'm going to explain to you now what both these coins do and what their responsibilities are, and then you can go away and work to position inside them to then underpin a level of improvement in the coin value as the ecosystem is used by ordinary people, which then goes back to help you accelerate how much physical gold that you have in your life to protect that purchasing power that we were talking about. So this is an overview of how it all works with regards to the bank, the trading, the mines that the company has. It's already got contracts in mines all over the world that allow them to take out and underwrite an amount of physical gold. This all then applies to various customer-facing applications, from mobile phones to laptops to payment gateways to banking services to payment systems, etc., etc. It's very, very special indeed. And as these things are used by people in life and businesses, then it creates value that then reflects back onto the digital asset position that you own. You're then able to take that gain and convert it freely to gold, to currency, or hold it as crypto. It's very, very special indeed. Now, it's all based on something called the blockchain. If a blockchain is something you may have heard of or you've not heard of, then you need to go away and research the blockchain. When you do that, you'll immediately see that the blockchain is here to stay. It is how businesses now are moving in their quest for increased efficiency, which is all what businesses want to do. And the blockchain allows people to structure their businesses now on an immutable book of accounts. So it's a ledger that's immutable, okay? There's no one central authority, there's no bank, there's no government that can control it. It's a system, okay? The users are the ones who control the network. In other words, it's individuals working with other individuals that controls it. It's called a peer-to-peer network. It's completely transparent, it's open and decentralized, it's low cost, it's fast, and all these things now are coming through. It's a very little known phenomenon actually in the broader world, because it's not something that people understand just yet, but it's basically demonstrated through what we call Internet of Money, Internet 3.0. You'll have heard of things like Bitcoin that basically exist on the blockchain and have given the blockchain some sense of life over the past few years. You know, these things are now coming through, and all these projects and business use cases are now coming through on the blockchain. So what we've done at Karatbars is we've conjoined the world of tangible physical gold onto customer-facing utilities that are driven on an immutable ledger called the blockchain. And it's that control and that decentralized ability for us as individuals to take a stake inside the blockchain through what are called coins that means that it's absolutely immutable to us and us alone. There's no banks, there's no pension fund owners, there's no financial planners, there's no annuity managers, there's no government. It's actually physically owned through a public and a private key by you and you alone. Only you can access the blockchain once you take position inside these coins in your particular area of the blockchain. That is what makes it very special, okay? So go and research the blockchain. It's absolutely key to not only this project, but where many, many, many businesses and ways of life are now headed as we head into the second decade of this century. So to break down the two coins, okay, now I've mentioned before that gold underpins everything we do in Karatbars. It's the baseline, it's the standard, it's the thing that hasn't been the case in the fiat system since 1971. So we've denoted our own standard. It's a private bank at the end of the day, a private gold bank. Now KBC was the first coin that we launched about 18 months ago now, nearly 2 years ago, and it has been the coin through which we've launched the project, and it's allowed basically Karatbars to instigate ownership of the digital asset, which is KBC, the coin, and put that into the hands of hundreds of thousands of people that allows us now to interact between the coin and physical gold. Okay, so it's almost the window into the blockchain that then allows us to own physical gold. And many, many, many of us now interact with this coin every single day in between coin, digital assets, and physical gold assets. It's a very, very special phenomenon indeed, and it works really, really well on the platforms that I'll be talking about shortly. So KBC is the gold-based asset-based coin. It's the coin that gives the functions of this company stability. Okay, in simple terms, that's its job. Now the sister coin is something called KCB. Now this is a different type of coin because this coin is all based on the utility. So if you think about it, when you're running a business, you've got to provide the market, people, with value and solutions to their problems. So the way that this is done with Karatbars and the Gold Standard Bank is that we provide telecommunications solutions, which are basically smartphones that work on the blockchain. We provide communication and work application functions, in other words, laptops that work on the blockchain. We provide trading and banking services and payment portals for merchants and a whole host of other customer-facing services. Now, all those functions and all those services are driven by the utility of the business. And the way the utility manifests itself in ownership by its stakeholders, normal people like us, is through KCB. Okay, so KCB is the coin that we go for first now in terms of taking a stake inside this ecosystem, and then we leverage that to what's called the hard fork, which comes up in December 2019, which is why I'm presenting this now and will be doing over the next few months to help people understand that to take an entry point into this ecosystem that creates value in asset terms in your life, then you come through and adopt KCB, because KCB and KBC will merge together on a hard fork in December 2019, and you at that point are in a place where you own a substantial amount of these coins to be able to leverage this thing to the next place. All the way along, of course, knowing that you'll be able to interchange between the coins and physical gold at your behest. And that's the powerful thing about what's going on with the ecosystem and KCB with KBC coming together. Okay, so they're the two coins, they're the two platforms, they're the two entry points on which you're able to access as a stakeholder inside this ecosystem. So with that, you then have a position, okay? And the point is then to take your asset position inside the blockchain, to repeat, it's all backed in physical gold, to be able to take that position and then help the company create demand for the assets that you own. And that creates, over a fixed supply, an increase in the value of the assets you own. Now, the way that's done is, as I was explaining, we use customer-facing functions and products that create demand for the ecosystem's purpose. Okay, they put the value around and around and around the ecosystem, and as revenues come in by people using mobile phones, by people using the trading exchanges, by people using the laptop, by people using the banking services and K-merchant gateways, as that is actually used and revenues are generated. And from those revenues, fees are taken, as any business would, as you'd expect, and then 50% of those fees go back into the ecosystem to put gold onto the books of this company. That then is used to underpin what the company is able to do with its customers and stakeholders to provide more options and asset strength in each of our stakes. Okay, so it's a very neat model, but it's all driven by the fact that these customer-facing functions are actually paid for using the coin. Okay, so at this point it's KCB. Going forward, they'll become one called KBC, and it's the coin that's the currency. Coin becomes the currency, and all these things drive forward to create momentum. And that's a very special thing because it's able to be held on inside the blockchain using 100% blockchain infrastructure, including the phones, including the laptop. In other words, we're locking down Internet 3.0 and the Internet of Money onto hardware devices that function on the blockchain. And that isn't possible currently. What I'm talking to you on right now is a laptop that is actually running on the Internet, and that's fine. But it can be insecure. There's lots of problems with that. It can be expensive, but when you're running 100% on the blockchain, then it creates a new dynamic, particularly in privacy and security, as we'll talk about in a minute. But best of all, we're actually working inside an ecosystem that demands that to be used on assets that we actually own ourselves. Okay, so you're out there on ownership of the coin position, helping the company create demand inside the markets because of its very innovative solutions. That creates revenues that then you take the benefit of because you have a stake inside the blockchain ecosystem. So, all that said, how do you interface between gold, cash, and crypto position? Well, that's done on a platform called Karatbars. And the Karatbars been around now nearly a year. It's been tested and beta tested and assessed and modified and updated, as you'd expect with a new platform. But frankly, this is the window, the platform, the gateway in which us as normal people can manage between digital, physical, and cash assets. And we do it all inside a platform called karatbars.com. Whoever invited to this piece of information will show you how to set this up. There's a number of steps that need to be taken for you to open a free gold standard bank account. And with that comes access to Karatbars, and we'll help you with that on future training videos. Next comes what we call the Karatbars system. So the Karatbars system is basically where we're able to, in simple terms, take a position in gold and in a sense liquidate that onto the blockchain to use the currency, as I suppose is the best word for it at that point, to buy stuff and live life. Okay, so obviously going down to the local shop with a bar of gold is not going to be able to give you the ability to buy a loaf of bread. But if you own gold that can be converted into an alternative currency equivalent to the value of that gold, then you're able to go and use that in daily life. And that's basically what Karatbars does. Okay, so it allows you to liquidate your gold ownership into digital form and then use that to function inside this ecosystem. And we are right now rolling out various functions, one of which is called K-merchant, that absolutely allows merchants, stores, shops, businesses to accept cryptocurrency that's based on the gold standard bank. And that's done in three ways: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and what we call KBC, which is the gold-based coin that I've been talking about. You can actually go and pay for goods and services using the cryptocurrencies of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and KBC. Very, very special indeed. It allows you basically to hold your purchasing power you know, particularly using KBC, which is gold backed, to then go and live life. You can use Bitcoin, Ethereum as well if that's the digital assets that you own as well. They are in the same position, broadly speaking, even though they are much more volatile. But the very special thing about K-Merchant, if you're a business owner that is already used to taking Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin accepted here on your premises, then you'll know, as well as we do, the challenges of volatility. In other words, you could sell a cup of coffee to somebody for X amount of Satoshi, or parts of Bitcoin, and you will not know, even within the hour, if you can convert that Bitcoin back to cash at the same price that you sold a cup of coffee for. And that's a big problem, okay? And so what this system does, underwritten by the Gold Standard Bank, it allows you to sell that cup of coffee for $5, for example, and then be absolutely confident that you will be able to convert the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, or the KBC back to that absolute fiat value at any point. It automatically transfers the fiat money equivalent onto your back office in your K-Merchant account, okay? Now, the other special thing about K-Merchant is there are absolutely no transaction fees, which is quite an amazing thing to be able to say. But if you compare it to SumUp or WorldPay or PayPal or any of these established fiat currency payment gateways, then you are charged a fee between 1% and 5%. With K-Merchant, there are no fees. Well, so how does it do that? Well, what it does, it basically takes the cryptocurrency, whichever one you've decided to use, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or KBC, and it instantly converts it into a stable position in cash inside the back end of your K-Merchant account. But it also takes that cryptocurrency out onto the world markets and arbitrage trades it until it finds a gain. It then takes that gain and brings it back proportionally to the transaction value to make sure that not only is your fiat currency value maintained and secure, so you've got it to do with what you need to do to pay suppliers, to pay staff, etc. It also means that this transaction is able to pay for the system itself, which means you don't have any transaction fees or your customer doesn't have any transaction fees. So there are two very special things about K-Merchant, and on future videos, we'll be showing you much more detail on this and showing you demonstrations of this actually in real life as we speak, as we come up to the end of 2019. Very, very special platform indeed. But most of all, it's one of the most powerful ways in which this ecosystem is used. It's used to create revenue, revenues create fees, and fees go back to underpinning more of this ecosystem in gold, which underpins the value of your stake in the two coins that we've just been talking about. So you're not only an asset owner, you're also able to use K-Merchant in your businesses to create a situation whereby you have control over how you maneuver between cryptocurrency and fiat money. And last but not least with K-Merchant, if you are a business owner and, for example, you don't own the property you're in, you're renting it, or you don't own the equipment that you run your business from, you're leasing that, then you may well just be running a profit and loss company, which is absolutely fine. But you may want to think about being able to create an asset base every single time you sell a product or service in your company, because that will denote a balance sheet, and it's that creates the value in your company. So the power of being able to create assets in your business every time you sell a good or service is something that is worth consideration. K-Merchant gives you that in spades. Now then, so we've touched on the very high level stuff about gold. We've touched on, obviously, the way the coins and the infrastructure allow you to take a stake. Now we get to areas whereby we have communication devices that are disrupting the way that we communicate. They're disrupting the telecommunications industry, okay? Now these are very, very special phone devices called the K1 phone. They're basically able to operate on the blockchain, which means that roaming fees are much, much lower, okay? So at the moment you'll be using networks, you know, Verizon, Vodafone, etc., to communicate, and you'll be paying fees to those people in order for you to use their network with your mobile device, okay? For these phones, what we're talking about is a $6 per month fee for complete roaming on the blockchain, Okay, so it's a much lower cost for you to communicate globally. They're also 100% secure because they operate on the blockchain and private. And they're also able to be used as a mobile bank, which is what the little clip here, as you can see on the bottom, is basically a cold wallet. And that's the term we use in crypto space for us taking our assets off the internet. Okay, so they're held in absolute secure form. So these devices are not just telecommunications devices, they're also mobile banks. Now that might be important, not that important for me and you living in maybe a Western part of the world, but for people in other parts of the world that are known as the unbanked, then it's a very special thing for them to be able to transact using a mobile bank in their hand, which communicates over the blockchain securely. And going forward, these things are set up also to be able to operate over satellite, so that in future versions of these phones, you will be able to transact over satellite. In other words, you do not need a SIM card. Now, these first phones and future phones will come with a SIM card, so there's no problem. You can operate as a normal phone. But the point about these phones is it gives you absolute flexibility, security, and privacy, not just to communicate, but also to transact. And also, there's unlimited data because it works on a blockchain. And the power of these things is quite phenomenal. Now, these actually come into the market over the next few weeks, as I'm recording this in September 2019, and you'll be seeing lots of these on the market and people demonstrating the power of them. You're also able to use Apple and Android apps on the same phone, and it's an open source application, by the way, so that if you are an app developer, you can be out there creating your own blockchain-based apps way ahead of the market. This grey box over the top that I put in here is just basically a demonstration of how you go ahead and purchase these phones. So you speak to the person who brought you here. They will introduce you to set up your free gold standard bank inside Karatbars. That allows you then to go ahead and purchase products inside the gold standard bank, as we've been talking about. One of the products is the phone, and you're able to position and take ownership of these phones from about €1,250, as you can see there. But crucially, absolutely crucially, this isn't just about owning a phone. With these product purchases, you're also taking ownership of the asset-based coins that we were talking about earlier. In this particular instance, KCB, they're in as bonuses for that same money, €1,250. And that means that you're basically going to take ownership of a phone that also creates you an income. Because every time you use this phone, you'll be using KCB and KBC. And by virtue of its use, it creates fees. Those fees come back to create gold and create underwriting onto this infrastructure, which allows the coin to increase in value in the wider market. So you're not just simply taking a phone with this purchase, you're also taking ownership of the asset that creates the phone's value. It's a very, very special dynamic. Now, that also applies actually to something called cash gold exchange machines, CAMs. Okay. Now, we mentioned earlier about Karatpay, and we mentioned earlier about the Karatpay in physical form as well as in digital form. So that is basically cash gold. And what cash gold exchange machines are physical gold vending machines, believe it or not. So these are basically devices that will sit in stores in towns and cities near you, rolling out as we speak. And you can actually take ownership of these things right now, put these into your store, and basically you load them up with cash gold. Customers come through with QR codes that they've risen off their Karatbit accounts, which allows them at the moment 1 gram a day to be able to convert into showing the QR code to these terminals, these machines, and it will provide them with an amount of gold in physical form. Okay, so that's basically you converting your digital currency into physical gold with a vending machine. Okay, again, as you put these devices into your businesses, then you're not just taking the device, you're also able to leverage ownership of KCB coins. In other words, the very coins that are used in order for people to create a digital position that then allows them to generate a value increase because of the use of these devices, that then allows them to take that gain and put it back into physical gold through the ways I've described. Very, very special indeed. The third element to this is the laptop. So this is another customer-facing product that the company now has. and this is the specification of it. Very, very special device indeed. I mentioned earlier that it's allowing the blockchain now to start to take shape in people's lives, because this device is designed to operate on the blockchain with encrypted email, a blockchain workspace, unlimited storage on the blockchain cloud. It works by default with Kmerchant and Karatbars, the two platforms we've been talking about. It's encrypted for web navigation, so it's very, very safe, very secure. In fact, you could argue this is now the most safe and secure way to access the internet. There are on blockchain social media platforms coming through. It allows you to access immediately and safely, crucially, very, very safely, your vault box, which is where you basically hold your gold. It's got a wallet manager in there for your cryptocurrencies, and a crypto data app marketplace for different products that are available through blockchain, which is all open source. So these things are now coming through, and we call it the Internet of Money, or Internet 3.0, because these physical devices, the phone, the CEM, this laptop, they're actually embedded into the blockchain as functional devices. It's not accessing the blockchain through the internet. These things actually are already on the blockchain, which means that they can be much more secure. And again, as you go through as a free member of the Gold Standard Bank, you get access to product purchases, and the other one is the laptop, just as we've done with the phones and the CEMs. These particular products, though, because they've only just been launched as of September 2019, are very much the hot ticket right now, because you're able to take a position on the laptop. So the laptop will be delivered, we're expecting late spring 2020, but as an early adopter, you're also now able to take a significant ownership of asset-based coins, KCB again in this instance. So you're coming in at a €2,600 purchase for the actual piece of hardware, but in KCB, the asset-based coin, you know, the thing we'll be talking about, it's actually £9,200 worth of that particular coin position for the win package number 1, which is on the left there. On the win package number 2, which also includes a laptop with a phone, that's £18,400 worth of asset-based coins. Okay, so that's very important that you're not just simply buying a laptop. What you're doing is buying into the asset position that underpins the technology that creates the laptop's power. So you're in an ecosystem immediately as you enter these packages. Very, very special. Okay, so last but not least, we're able now to talk about the way that all this ecosystem gels together, because fundamentally what we've been doing for the past few minutes is talking about the why you should own gold, why you need gold in your life, how you can now utilize blockchain technologies with customer-facing functions to accelerate your gold ownership through coin value. That's all very important. That's a big part of the ecosystem. But obviously, for this ecosystem to become mass adopted, then we're also able, if we choose, to go out there and help the business to grow, which is exactly what I'm doing on this presentation. So we're also access into the Karatbars business side of what goes on with Karatbars. Okay, so we're all basically operating as affiliates for the organization. So because basically the company had a choice to make from as far back in 2011 when it started. It could have gone out there and spent millions and millions with CNBC and Bloomberg and BBC and attempted to put itself in front of customers in the mass markets, or it could choose to take that budget and that expenditure and send it out into the marketplace with affiliates. It chose to do the latter, and that was many, many years ago now. And many of us now enjoy the pleasure and privilege of being able to share information such as I'm doing with you today and being paid for it very well, actually. So this is the whole point of Karatbars business. It's not mandatory. You can simply come in and position the coins and let the assets grow and do what you need to do. That's perfectly fine. But many, many, many people, there's thousands of people in our community now that are out there actually sharing the way I've been sharing with you today. So Karatbars business is quite simple. It works on direct commissions. So basically, as people come in and buy into these various packages and obviously enter the ecosystem with the coins, then if I sold me to you today, that would be a 10% return for me in commissions. The person just above me would get 3%, the person above them would get 2%. So it's a structured commission structure in direct commission terms. We have different entry point levels from bronze, silver, gold, and VIP. That basically means you're getting income in higher levels for the same effort, basically. So a VIP would be generating €80 per cycle in terms of the way the dual system works. So this is an outline of how the direct payment is made from me to somebody else, to somebody else, to somebody else, as the network increases. What this does, it encourages, for example, people who are maybe slightly more experienced to be able to step in. So Tom, as the top guy in this, may be more experienced than Mary, and certainly more experienced than Bill. So Tom steps in and helps Bill to explain some of this deep detail that I've been talking to you about today. So that's the way and the reason why there is a split direct commission on this structure. The dual team bonus is back to what I was saying about the bronze, silver, gold, and VIP. You can see there the way it breaks down in terms of income, and we call this passive income because obviously you're creating momentum through education. So once people understand gold, for example, it's very, very quick for them to understand why they need to be working with this ecosystem and positioning inside the coins with the packages and the products of the company. So what basically happens is units are generated in that activity, and as units hit 25 units on team A and 50 units on team B on each side of your structure, then that creates a cycle, and the cycle pays out accordingly, subject to the business position you own from bronze to VIP. Very straightforward, very, very effective. We get paid every single Friday, and I've been involved with this project now for 4 years. I have never, ever missed a payment each Friday. It's quite an amazing thing. We get paid weekly. We get paid on a 24-hour basis because we've got teams all over the world. It's a great way to create a passive income, all on the basis of you helping people to understand the benefits of financial education. Very, very powerful indeed. Quickly, and last now for me, is just to go through some of the profit packages. We've already been through some of the product packages, so the WIM laptop packages, the phone packages, and the CEM packages. There's also profit packages. The only real difference here is the lower entry points at €150, so you can get involved with this business for as little as €150 and get involved then not only with being a bronze business owner, so you can go out there and share and create €40 per cycle, but you can also take ownership of 0.2 grams of cash gold. But crucially, as we've been saying all along, you also take ownership of KCB coins at this point, so you position yourself in the digital asset, and it's 50% at the moment on top of the €150 position that you're taking, okay? Goes all the way up to 1,700 on this particular page. So you'll be shown this by the person who showed you this video, and you can go through the ins and outs and the benefits of taking the position that you can handle at this point in time as you move into position with this. For what it's worth, we started at €150 about 3 or 4 years ago, and we built our way up, and that's very doable if you understand what's going on with the financial system in the wider level, if you understand the vehicle and how this helps so many people. This has helped in now over 1 million people to get in front of the problems of finance in their life, and you're able to enter at 150 and build up. It then goes all the way up to 15,000. This slide represents the sweet spot where most people come in at in terms of them wanting to take a position inside the asset-based coins right now, because obviously they're at a low level. In fact, they're being given away. You know, you get, for example, on the €2,300 pack there, you're getting 100% more, so it's €4,600 worth of KCB that you'll get for that particular pack, and so on and so forth. And it goes up and up and up, subject to what you can position inside of. And believe it or not, we do work with people who are spending €1 million plus in this project. And the reason they're doing that is because they want a stake inside the blockchain technology. They know that is coming, and they can see the power of the laptop, the communications device, the K1 phone. They can see the power of the infrastructure, the K merchant. They can see how cryptocurrency is now moving its way into the lives of real people every single day. And these big money guys want a piece of that. Hence, they come in at €1 million plus. Okay, so that's it for me, guys. I appreciate your time. The next step is quite straightforward. You can register your free account straight away by talking to whoever brought you to this video. Very, very simple. You can exchange your devaluing currency for 24-karat gold bullion and cryptocurrencies. Very, very important. You're taking a stake inside a utility coin that's growing in value every single day. And that's simply done by picking either one of the product packs or the profit packs that we explained. And you're also then able, obviously, to start sharing this information with other people to begin earning income straight away. The more income you bring in, the more you can position in the assets, and then you create a virtuous circle of asset creating income structures in your own life, your own personal balance sheet. In other words, passive income and income producing assets. And if you know anything about successful business, whether you're into property, when you're running a business, whether you're into any type of business, you'll know that the trick really, as you'll read in the cash flow quadrant book I referred to earlier from Robert Kiyosaki, the trick in life is to get onto the right hand side of that cash flow quadrant, so you have people and systems and money working for you, not just you exchanging time for money as an employed or self-employed person. So I hope that was good for you guys. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you got value from this. Any questions, pop them below wherever you see this video, and we'll be back in touch with you to plug you into your free account. And we look forward to seeing you on the next video.